Welcome to our recorded information session in spring 2025. My name is Megan McDonough. I'm the Executive Director at Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity, and I'm here today with volunteers from the Family Selection Committee, Corey, Kathy, and Carol. Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity builds homes in Hampshire and Franklin counties for people with low incomes. We keep our costs low by building simple homes using as much volunteer labor and donated materials as possible. But it still costs money to build the homes. We sell the homes to families with an affordable mortgage. The main topic of today's information session is to explain how to apply to purchase a Habitat home. We will start by spending a few minutes describing our current project, but then we'll need to move on to the information about actually filling out the application. So let's describe the project. Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity will be building one single-family home on a small lot on Birch Street in Greenfield, Massachusetts. The home that previously occupied this lot was demolished in 2023 after it fell into disrepair. This new one-story home will have one bedroom and be adaptable for someone in a wheelchair or with other mobility impairments that require one-floor living. Located conveniently in the city of Greenfield, Massachusetts, this home is in a quiet neighborhood near the end of Birch Street. It's just a half-mile walk till you can reach Federal Street to go to the pharmacy, or walk a bit further to get to restaurants, hardware stores, bookstores, and more. The Franklin County Regional Transit Authority buses stop on Federal Street about a half mile from the house, and the John W. Ulver Transit Center is approximately 1.25 miles away. If you are driving, you are just 2 miles away from Route 91, a major highway running north to south in Western Massachusetts. Habitat plans to build a one-story, two-bedroom home on this site that will be adaptable for someone with mobility impairments. Habitat homes are modest and simple with small square footages. The home will be energy efficient and built to Energy Star standards. The home will be all electric and heated with an air source heat pump. Outdoor storage in an attached shed will be provided. The home will be built on a slab, so there will be no basement storage. There will also be no attic storage since the attic will be reserved for insulation. Basic appliances will be provided with the house, and there will not be a garage. This modest home will be just under 1,000 square feet. The home will be energy efficient and built to Energy Star standards. The home will have its own parking and yard, but the lot is small. As a homeowner, you will be responsible for lawn care, driveway maintenance, and snow removal. The home will be connected to public water and sewer. The building team at Habitat makes all construction decisions, and we don't build custom homes, but we will make reasonable accommodations for someone with a disability. The sale price of the home will not exceed $175,000, and the final sales price and mortgage term for the home will be set to ensure that your monthly housing costs at closing do not exceed 30% of your income at the time you buy the house. The house will be permanently restricted, so you can't sell it for a bunch more than you bought it for, but you do gain equity by making mortgage payments. I'm now going to pass it over to Carol to continue the info session.
What does it cost to be a homeowner with Habitat? If you become a homeowner, your monthly housing payments will include mortgage principal and interest, real estate taxes, and homeowners insurance. The average monthly housing payment will be between $875 and $1,500 per month. Your mortgage payment will be fixed, but taxes and insurance can go up over time. The monthly payment does not include the cost for water bills, snow removal, or home repairs. State housing subsidies can not typically be used towards a habitat mortgage. For example, Section 8 rental vouchers. If you have rental assistance, please talk with the agency providing the voucher to see if they have any programs for using this towards your mortgage payment.
So the selection criteria. Habitat for Humanity looks at three categories when reviewing applicants and making a final selection of their partner families: housing need, income and ability to repay, and willingness to partner. For housing need, inadequate housing could mean that your current housing has structural issues, problems with water, electrical, sewer, and/or heating systems, unsafe or unhealthy living conditions, inadequate space for the number and sex of members of your family, or that your current housing costs are excessive, meaning more than 35% in relation to your income, or that you can't afford. We also have an asset limit. If you have assets over to $75,000, you are not eligible. You must be a first-time homebuyer. The definition we use for this is a lot broader than you think. Anyone who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years is considered a first-time homebuyer, as are displaced homemakers. Please ask for clarification after the info session if you are worried about being disqualified because of this requirement. The second criteria is income and ability to repay. Repayment. You are buying a home from Habitat, so you must show an ability to repay a mortgage. We will also be asking you to apply for a mortgage from a bank partner or the USDA after being accepted by Habitat into the program, and they will need similar information to show your ability to repay. Ability to repay may be demonstrated in several ways. Do you make more than the minimum income required for a Habitat house? Do you have a history of making payments on time for rent and other obligations? This payment history will be seen on the required documents you will provide Habitat when you submit your application. We will go over the required documents in a few moments. These documents and your application will be reviewed by the Habitat Selection Committee and the bank that you get your mortgage from. Habitat sets income limits based on HUD median income depending on family size. The minimum income for this project is $35,000 a year. The maximum income varies with family size. For a single person, the maximum is $46,013. And for a two-person household, the maximum income is $52,575. Income guidelines are on the flyer and in the application packet. Credit reports will be pulled by Habitat for the use in the selection process. Credit score is not the only thing taken into consideration when we are reviewing your ability to pay. If you have delinquencies or judgments on your credit report, it is okay. The committee is looking to see that you have worked with your creditors to pay back any judgments, or that you have brought any previously delinquent accounts back to a current status. You can't have any current judgments or liens, but something in the past is okay. In general, you must wait 2 years after bankruptcy and show good credit in the time since the bankruptcy was discharged. This can be waived if the bankruptcy was caused by extraordinary circumstances, such as death and natural disasters. We are also looking to make sure you don't have so many debts that it would affect your ability to repay your mortgage. If you are unsure about your credit, consider seeing a HUD-approved housing counselor at Valley CDC, Wayfinders, or Franklin County Housing Regional Authority. This counseling should be free. A criminal background check and sex offender registry check will also be done. Having a criminal record does not automatically disqualify you from selection. However, Habitat reserves the right to disqualify someone for a relevant offense. If selected, you can expect to make a down payment of $1,000, which will be paid to Habitat in 10 monthly installments of $100. The first installment would be due the month after you agree to partner with Habitat or when construction begins, whichever is later. In addition to the $1,000 down payment, you will need to save up during construction to pay your first year of homeowner's insurance before we sell you the house. This cost will vary on who you select for insurance, but could be anywhere from $800 to $1,000. You may also choose to spend some money for appliances or other specific allowed upgrades. Habitat will pay reasonable closing costs for your mortgage. The next criteria is willingness to partner. If you are selected, you and your family become a partner with Habitat in building your home and will be asked to complete 250 hours of sweat equity. What is sweat equity? Each homeowner must complete 250 hours of sweat equity up to a maximum of 500 hours. A vast majority of the sweat equity is actually you building your home with volunteers and contractors. If you are selected to partner with Habitat, you should expect that you will spend 1 or 2 days every week until your home is completed. Workdays are typically 9 to 4 or 12 to 4 on Sunday. You need to average about 5 hours per week to complete your 250 hours before the building is done. There will be some weeks when on-site construction is not available because subcontractors are on site, like electricians or plumbers. So you need to plan ahead to do more than 5 hours per week some weeks. If you are disabled, we will work with you to modify sweat equity requirements to match your abilities. Future homeowners must complete 16 hours of volunteer work with Habitat, which counts towards your sweat equity within the first 2 months of being selected. These 16 hours could be working on your future home or other Habitat projects. A first-time homebuyers class by an approved education provider must be completed, and these hours also count towards your sweat equity. Once you agree to partner with Habitat, you will be assigned a mentor that will work with you to plan your sweat equity hours and prep your home. You would also work with the mentor to select certain fixtures in the home as well as any upgrades. The mentor will be your main point of contact for 9 months to 18 months for the 9 months or 18 months it takes you to build your home and the first year after you are in your home. If selected, you will need to complete an agreement that you are willing to partner with Habitat by completing these requirements. Megan will now review the application.
Thank you, Kathy. The application and all the required documents must be received by Pioneer Valley Habitat Humanity by Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. Applications mailed to our P.O. Box and postmarked by or on the May 13th will also be accepted. I'm going to stop the sharing of this presentation screen so that I can show you, well, my desktop apparently, but also I want to show you the Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity website. So if you go to our website, right now there's a big banner at the top that says apply today. You can also click on any of these other buttons to get to the apply page. And on this page, we have the information about how to get your application in. You can fill out your application in different ways. And one of them is to apply online, and you can click on it on your phone or on the computer and get right to it. But what I'm going to go through right now is the print application. The first page of the print application shows a few questions about Habitat for Humanity and what it means to partner with us, and asks you to do a self-assessment of your income and your credit. Look at your total gross income for the year and the number of people in your household, and determine if you think that you are between these two numbers. If you aren't really sure, maybe is your income $34,000 or $36,000, feel free just to apply and we will do the calculations. If you know your income is significantly below the minimum or significantly above the maximum, we're not going to be approving your application. You can also go get your own free credit report to check it out and see if there are any errors or omissions or problems on your credit report, and make a note that you've done that here on the first page. We think that's a great way to do your own self-preparation. The next page is some more information, many of the things we've talked about tonight on our information session, but you can get reminders about what is that sweat equity requirement, a little bit about affordability restriction, and the process for going through the application with Habitat. We also talk a little bit about what it costs to be a homeowner and what the costs to you might be for down payment and closing costs. Even if you're listening to this recording, if these haven't happened, feel free to come to one of our live information sessions so that you can ask questions directly, or feel free to email or call with questions. Our email address and phone number are on every single page of the application. This is giving instructions about either printing out the paper application or filling it out online. Our instructions are right in the application packet. And lots of reminders about this May 13th deadline. We've got a little bit of a description of the property, which we talked about earlier. This was the house that was torn down, and this is the empty lot we'll be building on starting this spring. The first form that you need to fill out to submit with the application is this one, which is asking you some basic information about your household. So when we do our housing lottery, we know how to include you in that lottery. If you have a mobility impairment and need a one-story home, we ask you to check this box and let us know, and then attach documentation from your physician that that is part of a reasonable accommodation to have a one-story. An example would be someone who's in a wheelchair and can't use stairs. We also ask you to tell us, we assume that, like, if you are and your spouse are applying, that you will share a bedroom. But if you have a medical reason why you need separate bedrooms, check this box and give us documentation from your physician. So it seems a little funny to start with the lottery questions straight up front, but it helps to give us important information for the end of the application process. The first full page of the application asks for your contact information. You are the applicant applying to become a homeowner and buy this house from Habitat. We need to know how to get in touch with you, so we need accurate contact information. If you have a co-applicant, then we'll need their contact information as well. A co-applicant is someone who will be buying the home from Habitat with you. So if you want to be a co-owner, that's the applicant and co-applicant. If there's no co-applicant, just write none or not applicable and move to the next section. It's fine for single people to apply. But if there are, we do want to know who is in your household and who will be living with you in your Habitat home. There could be children, other adults, but you want to list those additional people here, people who are not going to be homeowners with you. Say you're a single parent and you've got 2 kids. You'd write your name down as applicant and then your two children's names here. Maybe you and your best friend want to buy this house together, and you are the applicant and co-applicant, and your best friend's child is also going to be there. You want to share a two-bedroom. We don't decide who is a family, but we need to know who is in your family. We also need to know if you have any household members who are between 18 and 25, if there's any full-time students, to check this box. It affects some of what we count as total household income. Speaking of income, we need to know where you get your income for your household. If you or any other adults in your household are employed, we need you to fill out your employment information on this page. Each person, whether they're an applicant, co-applicant, or just another adult in the household, needs to write down their income. We need to look at income from all household members, whether or not they'll be an owner of the house. So for each source of employment income that's going to work at a job, whether you're a restaurant worker or a nurse or any type of employment wages that you get a W-2 for, you want to put information about that. We asked some additional questions about things like, is it year-round or seasonal employment? When did you start this job? Did you start this job last month and you ended it? Or did you, if you've been working somewhere less than 2 years, then we want you to that's why we have start and end date. Maybe you worked this first job all of 2024, and then here you'll put down your next job that you started in 2025, and that is still ongoing. You can just write from January 1st to current. If you have more than 4 different jobs in the household, you can always attach additional pages if necessary. Not everyone gets all their income just from working a job with an hourly or salaried wage. Sometimes there's other sources of income for a household. That could be things like child support, Social Security, unemployment compensation, disability income. We need you to list those other types of income here. And let us know if you're receiving monthly assistance that's helping out with your budget for things like food stamps or fuel assistance. We're then going to ask you a little bit about where you're living now. That's the living situation section. Who is your current landlord and what is their address? If you've been there less than 2 years, provide us information about the landlord before that. We also want to know if anyone in your family requires a disability access or modifications. That's just so that we can plan and work with you to provide those accommodations. Any reasonable accommodations will not be a reason to exclude you, but we need to know how to work with you on that. So please feel free to attach an additional information if necessary. We also ask you if you already own property somewhere. Do you own a home or any land? If yes, then you need to tell us about that. One of the program requirements is to be a first-time home buyer, but there are a couple of exceptions to that rule, and so we need to have a conversation about that. We also ask you about your current monthly expenses. In your current rental, what are you paying per month? What's your current rent, your gas, heat? This also helps you to look at what your overall budget is and can be a helpful tool for planning and determining if Habitat is a good fit. The section here called declarations is a series of questions that we need you to make disclosures about things like judgments, bankruptcy, foreclosure. So this is important for both the applicant and if there is a co-applicant, for both of you to answer yes or no to all of these questions. If you don't fill it out, yes or no, then we're going to have to come back to you and ask you to fill out the form. Please fill out things as completely as you can. This next section, we ask for the social security number for the applicant and the co-applicant. We only look at the credit of the applicant and the co-applicant because they're the people who are asking to actually purchase the home. But we do look at income from all adult households. So that might be a little confusing, but the reasons we need social security numbers for the applicant and co-applicant is so we can run a credit report. The asset limit of 75,000 is for the household as a whole, not just co-applicant or applicant. So here we're asking for the household members' assets. And the idea is, what kind of bank accounts do the adults have? What are their balances? Do you have other luxury items, cars and boats that are not your primary vehicle, but things that are for personal pleasure or investments? If you want to list those other high value items here. The concept behind this is that if maybe you're applying to buy the house, but your brother who plans to live with you there has $500,000 in the bank, that's not fair to apply for a Habitat house right now because there you have other potential access to resources. So who's in your household is under the total asset limit? All adults. We also want to know about your debt. How much money do you owe? Because that affects your ability to repay an affordable mortgage. So we need the applicants. I know we're going back and forth. We just needed the social security numbers from the applicants. Then we ask for house assets from all the household members, and now we're back to applicants again. Because the applicants are the ones who would have to repay the mortgage. So we need to know about the credit and debt for those applicants. And then on the next page, we have our sweat equity form. You can make these answers short. It doesn't have to be a full essay, but we're asking you to think ahead a little bit. Are you really going to be able to make this commitment to this significant time investment of 250 hours? We will definitely make reasonable accommodations for someone with a disability, but it still is an investment of time. So we want to make sure that everyone thinks ahead about how they will manage to get to our construction site, how they'll manage childcare, and how they'll make time to help build their own house. And again, we want you to tell us, check one of these three boxes here so that we can help plan ahead and make a plan with you if you're selected to be a partner for building this house. This is a really important page. This is the authorization and release, where you're giving permission to Habitat for Humanity to review these documents and look at your ability to pay, willingness to partner, and your housing need. This needs to be signed by the applicant, co-applicant, and any other adults in the household, because for the housing need question, we look at the income from all adults and the assets from all adults, because we're saying your household as a whole, how many resources do you have? And then for the applicant and the co-applicant, those are the people who are going to actually purchase the house, and we need to look at the credit and debts for those people. And we also want you to clearly print your name here for the applicant and co-applicant so we know what to put on all the documents you will sign if you're selected. There's another page with demographic information. This is to help make sure that we are reaching people from different demographics. So if you are willing to disclose information about your ethnicity, gender, and race, it will help us to track our how we're doing reaching out to communities with different backgrounds. You can check the box that says, I do not wish to provide this information. We've got another place where the applicant and co-applicant, if there is one, need to sign. This is about the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. We want to make sure that you know your rights around equal access to credit. So we've made it past most of the forms you have to fill in. And now we've got just some important disclosures about our program. Sharing you information about things like there's going to be a deed restriction on the property, limiting the resale value, our policy around mortgages and non-discrimination, our conflict of interest, our privacy notice, that there are preferences in the lottery, and that we will make reasonable accommodations. You've got the full explanation about what is a first-time home buyer here. So if you think you might qualify for one of those exceptions, take a look at this and get in touch with us. There's a review of what we talked about reporting all income and assets, and what standards we use to calculate those numbers when we get your documents. There's a copy of our privacy policy here, letting you know that we don't share private information with third parties unless we need to for the functioning of our program, but we don't sell your information for other purposes. The final 2 pages of the application are really a checklist. They're for you to go through and make sure that you have submitted everything that you need for us to review with your application. Did you fill out that lottery selection form at the very beginning of the application packet? That was that first page we talked about. Then we need, if you are employed, we need copies of your 5 most recent pay stubs. We need bank statements for the most recent 3 months for all checking and savings accounts. We need signed copies of your federal tax return for the last 3 years, 2022, 23, and 24. We don't need your Massachusetts or other state returns, just your federal returns. And if you don't have your return, you want to call the IRS and ask them to send you a printout, or go online to the irs.gov website to request a copy. Some of the things on this checklist won't apply to you. Maybe you don't have any students between 18 and 25 in your household. You get to just skip this one and move on. But if you do have a college student in your household, or an older high school student, then you need to provide us documentation of their full-time student status, if it's applicable. If you work part of the year at some job, maybe you have a summer job and then you get laid off in the winter, usually that takes some explanation. Just take out a piece of paper and write down in plain English, I always work for between these months and these months, and give us a little bit of explanation. If you have other income, things like child support or Social Security, there'll be documents that you need to submit to verify that for us. Your Social Security award letter, your disability award letter, unemployment. If you have child support, we need the court order that says how much you're going to receive each month, and a record of what you've actually received. If you know that a benefit or other income is temporary, if you can let us know when it's going to stop, that's helpful. We do need official documentation of your other income. Maybe you have a child support or alimony expense where you pay child support for a child that's primarily in another household. We'll need documentation of that expense as well. Back in that section called declarations, where you told us if you'd had a bankruptcy or foreclosure, you want to tell us a little bit more about that here. Attach the documentation that explains the context for that. If you have any investment or retirement accounts, those are assets, and we need your statements from those accounts. Can't forget to sign the authorization and release and the equal credit notice. It's important to sign those pages of your application. If you went and got your free credit report and you found something that was wrong on it, we want you to tell us about that and also tell us what you've done to resolve those issues. We're going to obtain a copy of your credit report directly, so you don't have to submit a credit report with your application, but we encourage people to get their own copy before they even apply, just to check on things. If you need reasonable accommodations, then we encourage you to provide the supporting documentation so we can get that squared away right from the start. Whew, okay, I talked a lot, but that was it for that section. So now we're just gonna skip back to the presentation here so we can hear from someone else before we wrap up this evening. And I think this time it's you, Carol.
Yes. Regarding the application process, the first step is the application review. Once your application has been received, the Family Selection Committee application reviewers will look to see if your application is complete and review your credit history. After this initial review, applicants that do not meet the habitat selection criteria will receive a letter explaining why they have not been selected. Those that do meet the habitat selection criteria will also receive a letter requesting additional information if necessary. It is very important to respond promptly to the request for additional information. Failure to meet deadlines for the information can disqualify you. The second step is the virtual home visit. After any additional information is gathered and reviewed, virtual home visits are scheduled. Since the pandemic, these home visits have typically been on Zoom, but if you prefer an in-person home visit, please let us know. 2 members of the selection committee will make an appointment with you to meet you and your family. These meetings are typically an hour. We may have some additional questions for you about your income or expenses. All members of your family that will live in the home, if you are selected, should be at this meeting. This is a chance for you to ask questions in a smaller group before the lottery. The third step is the lottery and selection. After all home visits are completed, the selection committee confirms which applicants have been determined eligible according to all the selection criteria. The selection committee then sends its recommended list of all eligible applicants to the Habitat Board of Directors for approval. The Habitat Board of Directors confirms who will be in the lottery. A lottery is conducted. During the lottery, preference is given in 2 categories: the need for an adaptable 1-story home and filling the bedrooms. All eligible applicants will get picked in their pick order recorded during the lottery to create a waiting list. The order of preference for the projects are someone with a mobility impairment who needs 2 bedrooms, someone with a mobility impairment who needs 1 bedroom, a household that needs 2 bedrooms but does not need an adaptable house, a household that needs 1 bedroom but does not need an adaptable house. Once the lottery results are in, the Habitat Executive Director will contact the family to ask if they would like to partner with Habitat. If they say yes, we have our partner family and the real work begins. Corey will now review submitting documents for you.
Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity would like to do our best to make it easy to safely and securely submit your application documents. We do not have regular office hours, but there are still lots of options to submit your documents. Please do not send any original documents, only copies. There are 3 ways to submit your application. First, you can mail your paper application with copies of required documents. As long as your application is postmarked by May 13th, deadline, it will be accepted. You can mail your application to Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity, P.O. Box 60642, Florence, Massachusetts 01062. Second, you can drop off your paper application with copies of required documents in our locked mailbox at 140 Pine Street, Florence, Massachusetts 01062. Look for the box labeled Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity on the middle floor near our office. There is a short set of stairs to access this box. Finally, you can submit digitally. A link to the Jot Forms online application can be found at www.pvhabitat.org/apply/. We also have an option for you to upload additional files using LeapFile through an encrypted page. Please do not email account numbers, social security numbers, or other personal information. To be considered, you must submit your application on or before May 13th, 2025. Don't have everything ready by the deadline? The application deadline is firm, but incomplete applications will be accepted. Submit what you can by the deadline to ensure your application is considered. Please try and submit as complete an application as possible to assist in a timely review process. If your application is incomplete, you will receive a follow-up notification requesting the missing information with a deadline for sending in the remaining items. You will hear from us within 30 days of receiving your application with a status update. It typically takes 1 to 3 months for the selection process to be completed after the application deadline. If you have any questions, call or email Megan. If you don't apply, you won't be selected. You can reach Megan at 413-517-8326 or at apply@pvhabitat.org.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our presentation. And if this was a live session, we would be starting our question and answer now. But since this one is being recorded, I'm going to stop the recording and encourage you to check out the website, to email or call and get your questions answered. Get us your application before the May 13th deadline. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.